All right, 4.4, simplifying algebraic expressions involving exponents. Okay, so we're just taking what we've already learned and going a little bit further. Okay, so first one, s to the power 7 times s to the power negative 5, and all that to the power 3. Okay, so we still want to follow our bedmass rules. Okay, so we're going to do the brackets. We're going to do our power of a power rule first. So s to the power negative 5 to the power negative 3, what we're going to do is multiply these. So we have s to the power 7 times s to the power of negative 15. Okay, now we are multiplying terms with the same base. So now we're going to add the exponents. So 7 plus a negative 15, or 7 minus 15, becomes s to the power negative 8. Okay, when we're simplifying exponents, we always want to have the exponent as a positive. So to make this positive, we are going to do the reciprocal. So we flip the fraction and we get an answer of 1 over s to the power of 8. Okay, moving on to b. So we have a numerator and denominator. Denominator, we can't do anything because these are not like bases. So we can't do anything with exponents. So in the numerator, we have a power of a power here. Okay, so negative 3 to the power of negative 2. So we're going to multiply them. So we get 3g squared h, and now all of it to the power of negative 6. Okay, we're just going to ignore the negatives now until we get to the very last step. So don't worry about flipping anything or doing any reciprocals. Okay, so here's something you learned in grade 9, but it's kind of a refresher. So we have 3g squared h all to the power of negative 6. Think about the 3, the g, and the h as separate bases. Okay, so the 3 is one, the g is another one, and h is another one. So this exponent we've learned in the past, we have to distribute it. But we're going to distribute to each of the terms. Okay, so it's going to be 3 to the power negative 6. And then these exponents here, we're going to multiply them. So what we get, put it up here, is 3 to the power of negative 6. So 3 to the power of negative 6. Then g squared, so the 2 times the negative 6, gives you negative 12. And now the h just has an exponent of 1. But now the positive 1 times negative 6 becomes negative 6. All over g3 h to the negative 1. Okay, so now we're going to simplify the like bases. So the 3 is an integer, or the coefficient. So there's a 1 here, so we can't do anything with them. So we're going to leave it as it is. But now we're going to deal with our g's. So we do our g's together. So we have 3 to the power of negative 6. So these are like same bases, and we are dividing. So we subtract the exponents. So we're going to have a negative 12 subtract a negative 3. So when we do that, so negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. And lastly, h to negative 6 and h to negative 1, we're subtracting, so it becomes negative 6 minus a negative 1. So negative 6 minus a negative 1, since we have the double negative, it becomes plus. So negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Okay, so since all of these are negatives, they're all going to go into the denominator. So it becomes 3 to the power of 6, g to the power of 15, and h to the power of 5. So all the negatives go into the denominator, and they all become positive. And the very last step is we want to evaluate the 3 to the power of 6. And it's 729. So we get 1 over 729 G15 H5. All right, moving on to C now. Okay, so we're multiplying here. So again, we're doing the numbers together. So the 6 and 9. Then you do your x's together, and then your y's together. So we're going to simplify the numerator first, and then we'll deal with the denominator afterwards. So we're multiplying here, -6 times -9. So do the numbers normally, the coefficients. So -6 times -9 is positive 54. Then we have x to the power -2 times x to the power -5. Okay, so since we are multiplying, we're adding. So -2 plus a -5 gives you -7. And again, the y is the power of 1. So 1 plus a -2 becomes 1 minus 2, which is -1. All over 3x squared y to -4. Okay, so again, do the coefficients together. We're going to do our x's together and our y's together. So do the coefficients normally. So 54 divided by 3 is, what is that, 17? No, 18? 18. So 18, and I'll be careful with the negatives. -7 minus 2, well, that one's easy, so that's -9. And then we have -1 minus a -4. So it's -1 minus a -4. So -1, it becomes +4. So we have -1 plus 4 is +3. Okay, and now our last step here. So we have the x has a -9, or a power of -9. So what happens is that term, or this, this term goes into the denominator. So we have, on the numerator is still your 18 and y cubed. And now the x goes to the bottom and it becomes +9. So that is your final answer there. Okay, moving on to D now. Okay, power of power. So we're going to multiply those. On this one, a little bit trickier, we have the radical here. So remember that represents 1/2. That's a half. So here we have 14 times -1/7. So remember, when you're multiplying whole numbers and fractions, you just multiply the whole number with the numerator and then keep your denominator. So we end up having -14/7. I'm going to do this in 2 steps. So the radical now becomes 1/2. So the square root is the same as 1/2 because there's a 2 here, and that goes in, which is the index, and that goes in the denominator of the exponent. Okay, so next step, I'm going to simplify this. So -14 divided by 7, and then we're also going to multiply these. So -14 divided by 7 is -2. And again, a whole number and a fraction, just multiply the numerator together, keep the denominator. Or you can use your common sense here, what's half of 6? But I'll just do the extra step, so we get 6/2. Okay, going to divide this 6/2 now. Gives me x to the power of 3. Okay, now lastly, we could deal with the numerator and denominator together. So we have a -2 minus 3, so x to the -5. And now since that is a negative exponent, we do put over 1, we flip it, or do the reciprocal, and get 1/x to the power of 5. Okay, now the last question. Okay, so 25a to the power 4, b to the power 6, all to the power of 0.5. 256a to the power 8, b to the power 4, all to the power of 0.25. So what I would want to do here is convert this into a fraction. So that's 1 over 2, and this is 1 over 4. Okay, so what we're going to do is distribute the half to each of the terms inside the bracket. And we're also going to distribute the 1 over 4 to each of them in the brackets. So we have 25 to the power of 1/2. Okay, and now just use your common sense here. If you want to, just do the 4 times the 1. So it'll be 4 over 2. But if you just think about it, 4/2 of 4 is 2. And then 1/2 of 6 is 3. Remember, you're multiplying it. So 4 times 1/2 is 2. 6 times 1/2 is 3. Okay, now the quarter is going to go to the 256. Okay, a quarter of 8, or you just do 8 times 1 is 8, divided by 4 is 2. And 4 times 1 is 4, divided by 4 is 1. Okay, I kind of skipped a step there. If you want to do the step in between, you would have 4 over 4 and 8 over 4. Likewise, you would have 4 over 2 here and 6 over 2 here. Okay, so now we're going to deal, since we're multiplying here, we can't really multiply these two coefficients as they are. So we're going to simplify them a little bit further. So remember, this half becomes the square root. So because the 2 becomes the index, so we have the square root of 25, a squared b3. And then this, 256, we have the 1 over 4, so this becomes the fourth root of 256, a squared b. So square root of 25 is 5, a squared b cubed. And then we have the fourth root of, I think it's 4, but I just want to double check. Fourth root of 256 equals 4. Okay, now we're going to simplify this. We're multiplying, so multiply the numbers as they are. Multiply your a, so you're adding them, the exponents, and multiplying the b, so we're adding the exponents. Remember, you do the coefficients together, do your a's together, do your b's together. So 5 times 4 is 20. A squared plus a squared is a to the power 4. B to the power 3 plus b to the power 1 gives you b to the power of 4. It looks like I don't have the homework. Okay, for some reason it got cut off. So on my computer here, there is the homework. So page 235, just let me double check it here. So you're doing 1 and 2, but just alternate the questions. So A, C, and E for them. Then question 3, then 4 to 9, but again, you're alternating the letters. So 4 ACE, 5 ACE, number 7, it's only A and C, and so on. Okay, so that is lesson 4.4.